Hey everybody, welcome to Disneyopolis. I'm Bryan. We are back at City Hall for another fantastic show. As always, Paper Duffy hanging out with the two Mickeys on the side over there. Today's show is going to be a lot of fun. We're going to talk about something that I have had some experience in and some background with, and that is the Disney Vacation Club. Now, there are a lot of great ways to enjoy a Walt Disney World vacation or a Disneyland vacation. We've talked about the benefits and the detractors of staying on-site versus off-site. But today we're going to talk about the Disney Vacation Club. This was actually started back in 1991. And basically what it is, it's a timeshare, but not in the traditional sense of the word that you think when you hear the words timeshare. Disney Vacation Club is different. For one thing, your ownership is actually deeded property. So when you buy into the Disney Vacation Club, you are buying a piece of deeded property, and it's But unlike a lot of deeds, this ownership actually comes to the end at the end of a term. A lot of these are set to expire in the next 30 years, or some of them even as late as 40 years. But for that period of time, you have a working ownership and a piece of the Disney Vacation Club. The way it works is this: they allow you to purchase based at what is going to be your home resort. Like when my wife and I purchased the Disney Vacation Club a few years back, we actually purchased at Saratoga Springs, and that became our home resort. Now you think, well, what if I don't want to stay at Saratoga Springs? And that's fine. What's really cool about Disney Vacation Club is they do things a little bit differently than a traditional timeshare company would do. Just as for instance, even though Saratoga Springs may be your home resort, you can actually stay at any Disney Vacation Club resort, anywhere. Any of the Disney Vacation Club resorts. The one benefit that you get, and something you may wish to think about if you ever decide to purchase into the Disney Vacation Club, is your home resort. You can actually start making reservations to stay at your home resort 11 months into what they call a use year. And your use year is determined when you buy your Disney Vacation Club, when you buy into the Disney Vacation Club. So if your use year is in July, then you can actually start, 11 months away from your next vacation, you can actually start planning when to use those points. And what they do, and I'll explain points in a second, is when you call in or when you go online, you say, hey, we want to go to Walt Disney World, or we want to stay off-site at another Disney Vacation Club resort. They look and they see the availability. Do you have availability there? Yes, you do. Great. You can stay. What does it cost? It costs X number of points. Let me explain the point system a little bit. When you buy into a traditional timeshare, you basically get 1 week or 2 weeks, or however long you purchase for, every year where you can go to a specific location and you can stay at that specific location. With Disney, it's different. They do what are called points. When you buy into the Disney Vacation Club, what you're actually doing is you're purchasing a number of points. I know that it's got a 100-point minimum, and you pay a certain dollar amount per point depending upon where you're staying. Right now, the dollar amount per point is somewhere between $100 and close to $200, just depending upon which resort you buy into. But instead of being stuck at one resort, one time of year, that time of year, you choose any time of year you want to go, just as long as you're within your window. If it's not at your home resort, I want to say it's an 8-month window. You have to wait until 8 months into your use year, or you can book it at 8 months out. That's what it is. But you choose where you want to stay. You take a look at a chart that they provide, and it says, okay, for you and your guest to stay at Saratoga Springs Resort during this time of year for this many days, it's this many points. And then you look and you say, oh, I've got enough points. Great. That's what I'm going to do. You book it. Done. You've got your room. You don't pay anything extra as far as your trip is concerned once you've booked a DVC stay. But after that, you just go down, you enjoy yourself. Now, the price per point is important because that multiplies by however many points you're going to get. Again, they have a 100-point minimum, but most of your properties are going to be at least 150 to 200 points to be able to stay at any specific property. So, for instance, let's say you wanted to stay at Disney's Boardwalk Villas, and you find out that for you and your significant other and say 3 of your children, and I'm just throwing numbers out here, I don't have a chart in front of me, but let's pretend it's 175 points and you bought in at 150. Well, obviously you don't have enough points to stay. So what do? Disney allows you to do what's called banking and borrowing. For instance, if you know there's a year you're not going to be traveling, you can actually take your allotted points for that year. In our example here, it's 150 points, and you can bank them into the next year. You can only do it 1 year in advance. And so when it comes time and you know, hey, we're going to be at Walt Disney World, or we're going to be, wherever it is you're going, you can say, okay, I now have 300 points. That stay I wanted to do is 175. Do I have enough points? Yes. Boom. You go stay at the resort. It's really that simple. And they also let you do what's called borrowing. Remember I said banking and borrowing? Banking is where you're actually taking points from a use year where you're not going to stay and putting them into the next year. Well, you can also borrow from the upcoming year. So let's say you don't have any points banked, you still want to take that trip to Disney's Boardwalk Villas, and it's still 175 points, and you've only got 150. Well, you can actually borrow the 25 points that you need from the upcoming year. Now, of course, when you borrow from there, you don't have those points available to you in the next use year, but you can take your vacation then. And again, it might sound a little complicated, but honestly, once you get the system figured out, it's actually easy peasy to use. It really is. Now, some things you need to know. First off, when you buy, you have 2 different ways that you can purchase this. You can purchase it en masse, meaning you figure out how much your points are going to be per point, how many points you want, multiply that out. That tells you how much money you're going to spend. But then you also have closing costs, and you have other things, just like, because it's a real estate transaction. So you can either pay all at one time, and then your deeded property is yours, and your time to be able to stay at Walt Disney World Resorts or any Disney DVC resorts is good for the next 40 years. Or Disney will actually finance it for you with approved credit, of course, but they run the credit check. They say, yes, we're going to take care of this for you. And then you say, all right, I want to break this out over however many months it is you want to do. We did 12 months. That was just easy enough for us. So you're going to pay the same amount every month for 12 months, and you'll continue doing that for the length of time that you originally set up when you financed your points. Now, usually it's 10 years. Within 10 years, you've actually paid off your Disney Vacation Club, plus interest, of course, your DVC purchase, and then you've got the remaining 30 years to just go take trips. And now there is another way that you can do this, of course. Well, I'm getting to that. Anyway, long story short, basically when you start figuring out what it would cost to stay at Disney resorts, depending upon how often you go to Walt Disney World or Disneyland or any of the DVC resorts, it actually can end up saving you money over the long haul. But the key word there is the long haul. Initially, you're going to find that you're going to be paying about the same or maybe even more for your vacations because you're paying that monthly fee if you're doing that monthly. Of course, if you're paying an annual fee, you probably don't, money's probably not an object to you. You just throw it out there and you go. But the other thing to consider when you're looking at Disney Vacation Club or DVC is the fact that there are annual maintenance dues. Just like any other kind of deeded property, the cool part is Disney takes care of everything. They take care of the lawn care, and they take care of the maintenance, and they make sure the air conditioners work, and if the oven breaks, they replace that, things like that. But you have to pay for that, and that is something you will pay annually, and this is on top of what you've already spent the money on to get your DVC points. So, just something for you to remember. And there are a lot of different places to choose from. For instance, there's Animal Kingdom Villas, Disney's Old Key West, which was, I believe, the first DVC resort. There's Disney's Boardwalk Villas. There's Boulder Ridge Villas at Disney's Wilderness Lodge. Of course, Saratoga Springs Resort and Spa. Disney's Beach Club. Bay Lake Tower at the Contemporary. The Treehouse Villas at Saratoga Springs, and of course the new Polynesian Villas and Bungalows over at the Polynesian. Now those are all those that are at Walt Disney World on the Walt Disney World property, but you still have other options too. Other DVC properties are Disney's Vero Beach in Florida, Disney's Hilton Head Island Resort, and that's in South Carolina, and then of course Aulani, which is in Hawaii. So and what's great is members can use your points to any of these. So if you want to take a trip to Hawaii and you bought your plane tickets, you say, well, where am I going to stay? You can actually use your DVC points. You can actually do kind of a combination, since maybe for a lot of us, Hawaii is going to be a once-in-a-lifetime trip. You borrow from this year and you bank the previous year, and then you've got triple the points, and then maybe you and your significant other, or you can send your kids on their honeymoon if they're getting married, or that kind of thing. But not only can you do that, but you can go to other timeshares around the world. They have a partnership with RCI, which is a basically it's kind of an exchange where you can actually use your points and stay at other places that aren't Disney resorts, and you can also use your points for some different types of Disney vacations. For instance, Disney Cruise Line will accept points. Adventures by Disney resorts at Disneyland in California and Disneyland Paris. So you can do a lot with this. You really can. Again, the thing you need to figure out is how often are you going to be traveling. If you're going to be traveling a lot, it's worth it. It really is. If you're only going to be traveling once every 2-3 years, you're probably better off taking a different route. But you say, well, Brian, I want to stay at a really nice resort. And that's one of the things to remember with the Disney Vacation Club. All of these are the deluxe resorts. The ones that, when you're staying at Pop Century and you get into the parks and you're on the monorail and you see the Contemporary, you see Bay Lake, and you're like, geez, I wish I could stay at one of those. Well, that's what they are. But there are other ways you can get into this. One of these is, of course, you can buy directly from Disney if you're going to buy through them. The second is there is a whole resale market of Disney Vacation Club points, whereby you can go and buy it from an authorized third party, which is really great. The only downside to doing it through an authorized third party is, while you will get the benefit of being a Disney Vacation Club member and it's a legal purchase, there are some member benefits that you don't get because they don't transfer if you don't buy them through Disney. And then there's a third way that you can do this. And this is the way, probably, if you're just wanting to get a taste of it without making a long-term commitment, you can rent Disney Vacation Club points. Just rent. How do I do that? Pretty simple. There are websites out there, and I'll direct you to, I'll put some of them down in the show notes below, but there are some that you can go to. And basically what you do is you say, hey, I'm going to be in Lake Buena Vista on thus and such date, and I wanted to know, do you have points available? And most people, if they're going to rent them out to you, they're going to already have those posted. You contact the owner of the points, the member. The member sets up your vacation for you through Disney Vacation Club. They have a special number. DVC members go. They don't have to go through the traditional number that we all call when we call to book a Walt Disney World trip or a Disneyland trip. They have their own special number, and they set it up for you on an agreed upon price. So what's great about that is, one, you're paying one person directly, and you can negotiate with them the rate. You can get it really, really inexpensively, and most DVC rentals that you do end up being below the cost that it would be to stay at, say, a moderate resort at Walt Disney World. Now, that's not a hard and fast figure, but that's what my research has shown. But, the only caveat to that is the DVC member has to set up the trip for you. You can't do it by yourself. But once they've set that trip up, you show up, you walk through the doors, they say welcome home to you, just as if you were the one who bought those DVC points, and they treat you just the same way they would if it were the member coming through the door. And again, it's a fantastic way to get to stay at a deluxe resort without having to pay lots and lots of money. Now, you need to make sure that if you're going to do this, you do it with plenty of time in advance, so you can leave room for a margin of error for things to go wrong, because, well, that's life. But a great resource for all things that are related to the Disney Vacation Club is called dvcnews.com. I've used this for a long time, back when we had DVC. Now, we were DVC members for approximately 2 years, I've talked about this on prior shows. We got in at a really good time, but we were about 2 years into our commitment when the housing market crashed and the economy tanked, and it came down to, do I pay for DVC or do I pay my mortgage? Obviously we chose DVC. No, honestly, we chose the mortgage. But my point is this: I think it's a really fantastic deal if the situation is right for you. If you're a big time traveler, we bought ours at Saratoga Springs Resort, but we stayed at Animal Kingdom Villas, which was just amazing. It's really lush. It's wonderful. We stayed at Disney's Boardwalk Villas, which is really, really neat. It's got a fantastic view of Disney's Boardwalk. Great theming, one of my favorite theme places. We stayed at, of course, Saratoga Springs Resort, which was our home resort at that time. We stayed at the Beach Club. We stayed at Bay Lake Tower at the Contemporary. And I mean, these were all really, really great experiences. As a matter of fact, our first trip back to Walt Disney World after we decided we had to give up DVC for economic reasons, I want to say we stayed at, oh goodness, I want to say we stayed at Caribbean Beach Resort, and we loved Caribbean Beach Resort. We had a great time there. But there is definitely a drop-off when you come from a deluxe resort into a moderate. So just something for you to think about. With all DVC resorts, you have full laundry. You have laundry capabilities in your resort. You got a lot of space, depending upon even the small ones where it's just two people staying and have quite a bit of space. You get a full working kitchen, so you can go to Gooding Supermarket or Publix, buy a bunch of groceries, take them to the room. Actually, Gooding's, I believe, delivers, so you could even do that if you want to make it real easy. And then, if you don't feel like spending money in parks to eat, you don't have to. You can come back to the room, relax. Again, it is very nice, very luxurious. And with the exception of about 5 or 6 of them, you have pool hopping privileges, meaning if you're staying at a Disney Vacation Club resort, and let's say you're staying, again, at Saratoga Springs, and hey, I just want to go over to that fantastic pool over on Boardwalk. You can do that. You can do that, provided that's not on the prohibited list. But some other great resources. Honestly, just look around. But All Ears has a really great page. WDW Info has a great page. But if you're really wanting the fast and changing world of DVC News would be the one that I would go to. But again, I think it's a fantastic deal. Your mileage may vary. I'd love to hear your comments in the comment section below. Please make sure that you put those comments there if you want to talk about other DVC resorts or your experience with it. Again, it was a very positive experience for my family and I, and had we been able to finish it out, I would do it again in a heartbeat. I think next time though, because we've got a lot of kids and they're growing up, we don't travel as much as I'd like to. We'll be doing rental points the next time. It's just a fantastic deal, it really is, and there's a lot of benefit to it too. So thank you so much for showing up today. As always, we want you to rate, comment, and subscribe. Just click that button down there. Just do it. Just do it. Nobody will know. Actually, we want you to let everybody know that you subscribe. Tell your friends about Disneyopolis. Listen, we are everything Disney all the time. Again, thank you so much for showing up. We'll see you next time.